Dirty Harry. Eco-warriors Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's carbon footprint could be 26 times that of the average Brit. The ex-royals were seen on Friday in Beverly Hills in a Cadillac Escalade, said to be among the most polluting cars on the planet. I have further heard that this Escalade is really fitted out. It's fitted out with gun ports, with steel doors to stop bullets, with bulletproof glass, and it even has ports to release tear gas, to get people away from the car. That's probably a good idea. But that's going to be a much heavier car than just the classic Escalade because it's fitted out with all that stuff. Okay, so apparently they generate 215 tons of carbon dioxide a year from flights against the UK average of 8.3 tons per person. They racked up 53 international flights in the last 12 months to the end of January, so the 1 year from January to January. Mr. Baker insisted the only thing green about Prince Harry are his wellies. I had to look that up. Those are water boots. Quote, the self-appointed eco-warrior who likes to lecture everybody else on climate change is in the top 1% of people on the planet for carbon emissions. He should cut the carbon, and if not, at least cut the crap. We're going to take a look at this. Is Harry and Meghan's carbon footprint more than 26 times? And furthermore, I think Harry is not staying with Meghan most of the time and flying back and forth in private jets that no one is able to track constantly. So I think his private jet use is much, much higher. Harry spent £6,000 on a chopper trip to Birmingham last March, days before telling kids about climate change at Wembley. The Prince 35 told them, climate change is a humanitarian issue and one where we've been far too slow in waking up to and acting on the damaging impact. Where's that famous quote? He told the Greta Thunberg pranksters that extreme action was needed to tackle climate change. Again, in the Girl Up this week, said that young people must be in charge of the issue. Why? Because they have no knowledge of what is actually going on. Children should not be leading this charge. Politicians should not be leading this charge. Science should be leading this charge. Al Gore in the 90s was telling us we are living through an extinction crisis and we have perhaps a decade to course correct before we lock in our fate. We hear Harry saying this. Where does this come from? Al Gore was completely wrong. And before it was global warming, it was global cooling. All the scientists were saying the Earth was cooling. Now, since Al Gore, everyone is saying the Earth is warming. There's actually not any evidence of this. And they gave a beautiful graph. We're going to take a look at that. The other thing is Meghan Markle's plagiarism. She is constantly stealing quotes and not attributing them. Now, I'm an author, and I know that's a big deal to plagiarize someone else's work. And if you're going to quote somebody else, you really better attribute the quote. Say, Steve Jobs said. And I personally like to quote the great philosopher and poet Ricky Bobby. When I do public speaking, he says, I like to go fast. And another thing he's very famous for is saying, if you're not first, you're last. I love Ricky Bobby. Let's read this a little bit. It seems that with everything Meghan does, her antagonists find a way to criticize the former actor in one way or another. Former actor? She is an actor. The Duchess of Sussex has sparked a new row of plagiarism after she delivered the keynote. There were 4 keynote speakers. So one of 4 keynote speeches at the Girl Up Summit held this week. Here's the quote. Sometimes those voices can appear on the outside, and some things they say, they can appear to be painfully loud, but you can use your own voice to drown out that noise. Man, this is written poorly. I think they just didn't do spell check on this quoting, because that's what it is. It's just noise, she said. but your voices are those of truth and hope, and your voices can and should be much louder. Critics point out that while the Duchess's words may have come from a good place, they still very closely remembered the words of the late Tech Mobile. Good day, YouTubers. Welcome back to my channel. Time for a spot of royalty. This is a very nice graphic. 53 international flights in the 12 months ending January 2020, so January 2019 to January 2020. I think this number is actually much higher because I think Harry is constantly flying in private jets back and forth, and he's mostly not staying with Meghan. 18 of these 53 flights were private jets, between 7 and 20 times worse for CO2 emissions than commercial flights. Okay, and very famously, they flew 5 private flights to Cannes, and then they went to the great singer Elton John's house. I don't even think that was Harry and Meghan, and I thought that they thought that would impress people, that they were living like rock stars. Now they have this Cadillac SUV. This is what kicked it off. 14 miles per gallon. The average British car is 48 miles per gallon. Things are different in Europe. The roads are smaller. They drive smaller cars. But this also is fitted out with all kinds of security features, which would make it much heavier. And of course, they're staying in this ridiculous LA mansion. There's 3 of them allegedly. We never see Archie. There's Meghan, Harry, and Archie. I think Harry is mostly not there. I think Archie is not with them. And they're living in this 24,000 square foot, 8-bedroom mansion. And so 8 bedrooms, probably 16 or 20 bathrooms. I don't know what that's about. Figure that out. So there's a really, they have an enormous carbon footprint, to say the least. They're using, and they've got one of those showers, I'm sure, that sprays you from 7 different directions. You ever see one of those things? I've seen one of them. That's just crazy. You should come visit my shower. It just barely spits out any water. Kind of disappointed with this shower in this new place. So let's take a look. Is this, inflated? Or are Harry and Meghan's carbon footprint, is it 26 times the average Brit, or is it actually even higher? Let's check. Let's see. How is it higher or lower than the 26 times of the average Brit? Higher or lower? There's a sneaky card right there. Player. Oh dear. The devil had to show up. So is it 20? Is this hyperbole? Is it 26 times? Is it higher than that, or is it lower? We have 2 very sneaky cards. We have the Fox and the Player. These are both business and money cards, and both deceptive. So Fox, karmic shift, and karmic relationship. So they're lying about their relation. They're being very clever with the words about the relationships, and big changes have occurred. 18. Okay. So, clever about the words and the relationships. And this is what I'm saying. Harry is mostly not there. So they're not telling us the truth about Harry and about Archie. And this is what's causing all of the conflict in the relationship. And so Harry is mostly not there. They're not telling us the truth about the relationships. And behind, it's the man. Okay, Harry is back and forth. So quite a bit of deception about what is really going on in that household between Harry and Meghan and Archie. I don't believe Archie is there. I don't believe Harry is there most of the time. I think Harry's been in and out of rehab, and he's mostly in England. I'm a little shocked that he's coming out with these woke sayings. I would expect him to start showing a little bit of emotional distance, but he's not yet. So what do we got going on here? We got home, coffin, broken chalice, Mercury, and devil. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. The family is ended and broken apart. So the marriage is breaking up. And all of what they're telling us, Nine Diamonds is a great communication card. All of it is lies. Everything they're telling us about the family, Meghan, Harry, and Archie, it's just lies. It's lies, lies, lies. 11, 11, 22 plus 8, 30, 8 diamonds. All of it is just lies. So, interestingly, this mini Celtic cross is telling us that they're lying to us about everything, especially the relationship between Harry and Meghan and all the family members. Okay, so we're just not being told the truth. This is all presupposing that Harry is living in LA with Meghan and Archie. Well, that's not actually what's going on. So they're always telling you that they're offsetting their carbon footprint. Well, to offset their carbon footprint for these numbers, a tree sucks up 20 kilograms a year of carbon. And so that means they have to plant 10,745 trees just to offset the numbers that we're seeing here, okay, for these 53 international flights. Are they really offsetting? Okay, are they planting that many trees, or is this just words? Bring out the word salad. Are they really offsetting? These are interesting. Are they really offsetting, or is this just words? So Mother Earth, this is the Earth. Woman, 24, 6 spades. 6 spades is lies. So woman, on the surface, they just preach love of the earth. The honest woman, I love the earth. Okay, they're preaching love of the earth. Okay, but 6 spades, it's not true. 6 spades is selfish. Okay, doing this for her own self, wants to appear to be a good person, wants to appear like an angel. So they're preaching the message, and it's a woman. So Meghan, this is being driven by Meghan, this very public love of the earth, but it's entirely selfish and or lies. All the people, roadblock, and strength. So strength, Jack of Clubs is a very rooted card. All the people on the earth, in the biosphere, 11 and 11, 22, all the people again. So underneath, problems with all the people on the earth. Okay, so there's a tiny bit of deception. So I'm asking, are they really offsetting? It's really selfishness. It doesn't, so 6 spades is a lying card. 5 spades is a blockage. A separation between the people and the earth and what they're telling them. They're bending the truth. It's more about saying it than it is about doing it. Okay, that's definitely the case here. Okay, so there's that very famous quote. We are living through an extinction crisis, and we have perhaps a decade to course correct before we lock in our fate. I think we're all concerned about the environment. I'm very concerned about the environment, and I'm very, very concerned about China's abuse of the environment. Okay, China is by far, I think China all by itself is polluting more than the entire rest of the world. Okay, and nobody's saying anything about China. They're talking about the West, and we have the best practices, and we're leading the charge for the best practices and the cleanest technologies and everything else, and always have. Now that will change if, eventually that will change. Someone else will rise up to be number one. Do you hear about the Egyptians anymore? I mean, they were the shizzle way back. So is this true? We have Al Gore preaching this, we have Greta Thunberg screaming this, and we have the very brilliant and talented Ocasio-Cortez screaming this, who can't seem to be, she doesn't even seem to be able to do simple math or to accurately state what is right in front of her face, to a camera. So Are we facing an extinction crisis in the next 10 years? Sun. Are we in an extinction crisis? Opportunity, new start, and committed to making a new start and success. 6, 7, 2 clubs, okay, committed. It's all about committing to a new start and success. Underneath, finger of God, outside influences, officially decision. 10, 17, 5 hearts, reacting. So there's nothing negative here. Okay, it doesn't say, okay, if we're facing an extinction crisis, we're going to see 10 spades, 8 spades, 2 spades. We're going to see a whole bunch of spades. This is a push to do things differently. To spend, like on the new Green Deal, to spend trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars to receive pennies back in benefit. Because that's how brilliant that plan is. I don't want politicians making these decisions for us because they're the wrong people. Anyway, so it's exerting from the outside. There's nothing negative here. Everything is, these are actually quite positive signs, and it just shows that people are taking this as an opportunity to change things. We need to care for the earth, but we need to use the resources wisely. And we need to go after the bad actors. And the worst actors are China and India. And no one is saying anything about that. Okay, so Meghan Markle, she's constantly quoting people. And like her book, okay, she did the Vogue cover. That was really just, the whole thing was cribbed from a book. She tells tall tales. She is constantly quoting people and not giving them credit. You just have to say, that's Steve Jobs. I'm quoting the great Steve Jobs. I'm quoting John F. Kennedy. Just simply say that. And narcissists, they don't seem to know who they are. Okay, they're wearing a mask. It's all about keeping the mask on. And underneath, they really don't know who they are. And so they're very infamous copycats. Is Meghan just a copycat? Does she fundamentally lack a strong sense of self-identity? Because she's, converted to several different religions to fit in. Now she's molded herself from someone who denied that she was black to the ultimate social justice warrior for black people and people of color. So she's really very malleable. So is she a copycat? Does she lack a fundamental sense of who she really is? Oh dear, 10 spades. We have all the 10 showing. Because one of the famous quotes is, Jesus said that from the heart come good or bad things. Everything comes from the inside. But a narcissist, everything is from the outside. They're wearing the mask. And everything is about keeping that mask on, that mask of perfection. And Meghan is constantly suing everybody, constantly attacking everybody. She just threw her friend Jessica Mulroney under the bus because it didn't fit the mask of this social justice warrior. And the times, we're in a weird time in history where people are rioting and talking about, police shooting everybody, which is just, it's not actually true. I mean, the police are definitely not perfect, but we can't abolish them. We can reform them. We can, make reforms. Okay. So, is she someone who basically fundamentally lacks a real sense of self? Earthquake. Worst possible result, just a shattered mess. Okay, this is in the behind position. She's a shattered mess. Going forward and roses, 18, 5 diamonds. So her sense of who she is kind of destroyed. Also, there's 3 tens. Tens are completion, over the long distance, inheritance, committed, 22. She gets who she is from 6 diamonds, what other people think of her. That is the worst way to figure out who you are. You need to know who you are and then present that to other people. Whether they like it or not, that's their problem, but you present who you really are. You know, that's why people are always saying, just be yourself. Well, Meghan doesn't really know who she is. And so she's reflecting back to people who they want her to be. You know, who are you? Well, who do you want me to be? Okay, Jacob's Ladder, going forward, presenting, because she's shattered inside, her journey in life is about presenting a very sweet face, wearing a mask, and she figures out over her journey and what people think is how she figures out who she is. She figures out who she is on her journey. Okay, so she became a duchess, and she decided to be the ultimate social justice warrior, which is really strange. That's not who a duchess should be. A duchess should be a servant of the people and a promoter of the Commonwealth and the wonders, you know, the great things that Britain has done for the world. Okay, she needed to be someone who celebrated Britain, but her interpretation of that was to be, you know, she's going to single-handedly modernize the monarchy, and she is really, you can't move her off that path. She is really the diversity duchess, and she just keeps hammering it. And she's even got Harry going with it. And it's really not working for Harry. All right, so what do we have going on? Let's review here. So that's disturbing. Meghan really doesn't have a solid sense of self, and she figures out who she is based on her journey through life and what people want of her. And like after she left her husband Trevor, she got suits through her husband Trevor, and then she was already staying with Corey Vitiello, and now she got into cooking, and then now she's with Harry, and she's this social justice warrior. She just keeps morphing into she's a female Zelig. All right, so their carbon footprint, is it 26 times higher or lower? This overwhelmingly says that they are just lying to us about the family, about Archie, herself, and Harry. What people think is going on is absolutely not what's going on. And so I would say that it's higher than 26 times because Harry is never there. He's always flying on private planes. He flies private planes almost as much as normal people drive. Okay, so the carbon footprint would be much, much higher because they're lying about the relationships. Harry is mostly not there. Archie may not be there at all. Okay, are they offsetting? They have to plant 10,745 trees to offset. Well, it's all love for the environment. That's the presentation on the surface. There are some problems here. They are doing some of this, but they're not very careful about, well, we planted 10,000 trees. They are donating. They are doing some of these things, but it's all about the presentation, and it's not about the practice. Okay, they're definitely kind of hypocritical. It's all about presentation. They're telling you what they want you to hear. Are we facing an extinction crisis? Because 40 years ago, Al Gore was telling us, 30 or 40 years ago, he's telling us we're going to, go through an extinction crisis in 10 years. That definitely didn't happen. And then we had Y2K, and that was a big disappointment too. Now we've got this global bug, and I read the stand and everything, and everybody seems fine. So are we living through this extinction crisis? People are just taking this opportunity to really change things. This is an opportunity, this is to change things. And that's all it says. And there's no crisis here. There's actually no crisis in these cards. Okay, and so finally, Meghan. Is she a major copycat? Does she lack a fundamental sense of self-identity of who she is? Absolutely. She figures out who she is by reflecting back through her long journey through life. She decides who she is based on what people say and how they react to her. I think there's a lot of people in this world like that, more than we think. But she's kind of a little bit obvious about it, I think. That's how I see it. I'm Joseph Magi, author of Playing Card Divination, Fortune Telling, the Magi Method. Find the book worldwide on Amazon and Kindle and paperback versions. Find the full color card deck used here on Etsy/Magi Method. Many thanks to the really generous folks who are contributing and giving, sending me some tea. In particular, I'm thinking of Sally and Terry. Bless you. So please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and comment.